Hey guys, Andrew Chin here. Today we're going to be building a search bar in React that displays the filter data. Let's just get started, man. Let's get started. So I have already created a app with Create React app. If you don't know how to do that, I don't know what to do, man. I actually just filmed this exact video like 5 minutes ago. Didn't work out because I think I was taking too long explaining everything. So I'm a little bit frustrated right now, but it's all good. I'm gonna delete everything. Come from the start again. Okay. Come from the start again. Oh wait, I should have displayed you guys the results here. So here are the results. First of all, if we type in nothing, it's going to display all the data. If we type in something, it's only going to display that. If we mistype some, if we overtype, it's going to display nothing. Hacker, teacher, whatever. First of all, if you are a real developer out there, you know what you're doing. Probably, like, you shouldn't listen to this because a lot of the front-end libraries already took care of this, but if you're a semi-beginner, you know, you should maybe listen to this. How are we going to do this? Hopefully by now you have kind of a overview of React, so I don't want to explain everything. But the way we're going to do this is there's going to be a component that is a search bar. Search bar, you type stuff into the search bar, and the stuff is passed to the parents. Inside the parents, you filter your data with the stuff you typed into the search bar. And then inside of another component, you display the filtered results. So if we use example here, this right here that we type in is this right here. Whatever we type in, this data is being passed to the parents. The parents the parent filters the data. So for example, like right there, and then we display at the end, like right here. Let's make the parent component first. Let's just call it dad, right? Good old dad, and we're gonna import dad from dad.js. Gonna make a new file called dad.js. I'm gonna make a new class. If you don't know yet, the way I was able to create that real quick is with a plugin. I'm actually not sure what the plugin is called. Really sorry about that. I'm gonna link into the YouTube, whatever, if I can find it. Return div when it's gonna be a search bar. Oh, that is a default HTML element, I think. Search when it's going to be the results display, right, as we said earlier. And that's import search from search.js, import results display from results display.js. So we're going to make a search.js, we're going to make a results, what was it called? Results display.js? Kind of forgot. Results display, yes. Results display.js. We're going to export results display. I'm going to say this is the results. And in search, we're going to make a new class again. We're going to export the search. This is the search. So right now, okay, it is indeed running on a local host after doing npm run start, and this is not valid anymore. Oh, Oops. That's funny. Save that. The React app should update in like 2 seconds. I'm gonna update it manually then. What is going on today, man? Why are you so laggy? God damn. I really don't know what's going on today. Okay, I don't know why. This is a search, this is the results. Now we're going to edit search a little bit. Instead of this is search, we're going to display an actual HTML element. This is a default HTML element called input. And it should display that. If we type anything to it, it is going to display it. It doesn't mean anything though actually. And yeah. Let's first of all, let's display something meaningful in the results. Let's just display, let's make a new file. Profession list.json. And then inside of it, we're going to create a few objects. So this whole JSON is an array, JSON array, and then we're going to do a few objects in it. One object can be computer scientist. One object can be hacker, and one object can be a lovely, lovely, lovely teacher, as we did earlier. How we're going to display this in results display right now, we can just go like this: import profession list from profession list.json. If we directly go display the profession list.json, I don't think it works because it is an array that we're trying to display, and we can't just display an array. So there should be some kind of, yeah, that thing right there. So how we're going to display this is by doing the map thing, I believe. So it's map. So we're going to each profession div each profession dot name div. Well, actually worked on the first try with the. Yeah. So what is this doing is basically taking this array and then mapping each object in the array to something, to do something. In the case we're displaying each of the name of each of the objects in the array. Right now if we type anything, of course does not work. So how are we going to filter this data array? Because we want to filter this out. And these both belong to a component called dad. So we really need to do something in dad here. First of all, we probably want whatever we put in the search input to be transported to the data component here. How do we do this? Well, we go to search here, and we go input on change. This dot on change. No, this dot handle change. Then we're going to make a new action. By the way, so I think I'm going a little bit fast-paced right now because I assume that this is not going to be the first video you ever watch, so you have probably dealt with a lot of these before. But if you have not, I'm going to maybe have a full 10-minute video of explaining everything that it did. And hopefully that'll make sense right now. But maybe now you can just follow and then try to remember as many things as you can. I'm really sorry if this is too fast for you, you know. This dot props dot handle change events. What is this doing is whenever we change something here, inputs, there is going to be a default thing. This is an HTML thing. There's going to be a default event that is passed to whatever function that's happening here, and we're gonna call this props.handle change, which will, the props is right here. God. This dot handle change. So basically, the prop is kind of like the parents, even though it's not. It's really just calling the handle change that will be defined here in the parents. That one's so hard to explain, man. I'll explain later. But then we can just do parent handle change. Let me just do, let's see, event.target.value. Every single default event object has a target.value, and then in case of input, it's going to be the actual value that we put in. Or else if we just do handle.change event, it's actually a really long object that has like 20 properties or something. So then it's really just the event value that has been passed in, and we can just do this as a state. Events input text. Events value. A state is it can belong to every single components in React, and basically it's somewhere that you store your information that can be needed somewhere. In this case, we want this input text to be stored here, so then we can have another function that filters it and then be passed in here. Another function that filters stuff, then puts the data into the state, and then that can be used here. So what should we do is, by default, the input text should be nothing. Let me see. Let me just console log this right here. And we can refer to the state with this.state.input text. If we type in anything right now, we open up console with F12. It's going to display right here. Right, if we do it ADSD, whatever. So here's the interesting part. How are we going to filter that data with the input text and then put the filter data into results display? Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to create a new function called filter function.js. It is going to export defaults. It's actually going to import the profession list that we created earlier, if you recall that JSON file, and export default function. We need to put in the search text, input text, and it's gonna return, so var filtered text. Oh, actually, I forgot to do this. Profession list from, yeah. Profession list, and here we're going to use a JavaScript function that is included in JavaScript called filter. And what filter does is it takes every single object in the array, and it's going to add it to a new variable if that object in the array being tested is returning true, or it's going to be false. I'm going to illustrate it with this example in a second. We're going to each profession. And again, like, I know a lot of these syntaxes might not be common to beginners, and like these brackets might even confuse you. Actually, this one should be let me see. No, this one should be this kind of bracket. Yeah, this kind of brackets and this kind of brackets might even confuse you, so I'm going to explain it all at the end if that's what I'm misinterpreting. If each profession dot dot name dot includes input text dot to lowercase. Then we return true. Else we just return false. Actually, there's not even else here. Right, all works here. And here's actually an interesting thing. We can import this function. Import filter function from filter function.js, and we can just do filter function like that, the blank. So filtered results equals to filter function. Yeah, I don't know why I did that. And let's console.log the filtered results every time we filter. And I'm gonna explain why it works if it does work, hopefully. Let's return undefined. It's data 16. So data 16 will go here. This state.filter results is indeed undefined. We export it from here. I screwed up. This function needs to return something. It has to return something, right? So we're going to return the filter results here. Now, hopefully it works. Yeah. So we can see that the filter results that we're returning is like that. And if we were to type more, oh wait, what? Oh, that's right, we're only displaying we're not really filtering yet with the input text, we're only filtering. That is going to be the basic state. And every time that we input a value, we're actually going to do this. This dot set state. Filtered results with filter function events value. So I have no idea why I did this earlier, but we don't need this state at all, because the reason why is that this doesn't, like, this input text doesn't have to be available to like stuff in here and here, and that's why we don't really need to store into a state. But versus the filter results, we need it in the render function too, because we're going to display it to results display later. So that's why we need to state for it. But for this one, we don't need. Yeah. And if we can console.log filter results. Oh, that's not state though. Yeah. Every time we type in something, yeah, it should get smaller. Yeah, it gets smaller when we type in something. So if we don't type in, if we just screw up, it's gonna display a length 0 array. The cool thing is that this is working, but this results is not being actually filtered. It's still the same. How are we gonna pass in? How are we gonna display whatever data is in the parent components into the results display? Yeah. You probably get what I mean. The way we do this is with the props, and the parents can pass to the children their data with props. So what is the props? I actually can't answer that question. We'll just imagine that something that is usually passed from the parents to the children, and in this case we want to pass him some display data. It's going to be this.state.filtered results. And we can access it. We can access it in the children components by doing. I'll just render it here. Console.log props.display data. So whatever you define here with the pin text in the actual component, you can refer to this with this.props. if we now log it, now we can see that, oh, I don't know why this one's still displaying. Let me just delete this one real quick. So D, obviously there's nothing that has D in it. Actually, that's pretty interesting. When we have in computer, it works. So now the children actually has access to the parents' data. And that is really interesting, right? How are we going to actually display that data? Let me delete this whole thing so I can start over again. This here. God, fricked up. What am I missing? Just go back. Oh, just delete this. We're gonna display here. We're gonna do it by this. This props.display. By the way, if we just straight up just try to display this, it's actually not gonna work again because of that array thing. So it's gonna show this. But we can display if we can somehow display each of the individual objects. Actually, not objects, individual, something that is string based, or numbers, whatever. We're gonna do this by, remember the console log, we kind of outputted the, we outputted what? We outputted the array. This is an array. And we can, each children, we can display each object into something. But now this each object should hold a this is still an object, and you still can't display that because I remember it holds something like name and then with a colon something. You still can't display that. It's still not like a string. It is, yeah, you can't display that. How are we going to display it? Div console each object dot name. Now it's a string. Okay, display. Why this is not working? Maybe it's because of this. It's probably because of that. Yep, and we got a component to work. Let's give it a little bit recap of everything that is going on right now. When we type in here, when we type something here, it is a search bar that is calling a function in the parents components and passing in the value that whatever we're typing here. And every time that we type in something, the parent component will respond to it by filtering it, the input text. I mean, filtering the data that we have in profession list with whatever we just inputted, and that's done by a custom function that we created right here. And it's going to store that result that we filtered into a state, and in the display results part, we're going to pass the state in, and then we're going to display it with this cool map function. That's it. That's all that is. So now this is the part for the beginners. Let's explain everything in great details for the beginners. Like, for example, what is this props thing? What is this render thing? What is this filthy function thing? What's going on everywhere, man? This is messed up. So stay here if you're a beginner, leave and go do some productive work if you are already somehow know what's going on. React is a front-end framework. So React actually doesn't take care of anything that is in the backend, and doesn't even care about what goes on in the backend. What is front-end? What is backend? Backend is usually referring to the stuff that goes, the stuff that happens to, it's usually, think of it to communicate with the database. and often we use Node.js and something like that for backend. But let's stick to React for this presentation. Every single framework has to deal with HTML. React made it fancy by creating something called JSX, which at the end is going to turn into HTML, and whatever we have right here, the components, the class, is going to turn into plain old JavaScript. It's just making it a lot easier and a lot more understandable. Inside of HTML, index.html, we display everything. Alright? And but I don't see like the the dad component, whatever we created, and that is done with this file right here, app.js. I mean, no, index.js. Can't find it now. Look right here, and it's going to say that we get the root elements inside of index.html. We see right here. There's a root right there, and then inside we're going to render the app components. So everything that is going on here belongs to this root components, and then inside there's the app components, and then inside the app component there's the data components. Inside the data component there's the search results, the results display. So already in the app component, we're starting from the app components. This is just all React now. Component is a React thing. What React is really good is letting you to write components, which are like JavaScript objects, but even better. And those components can often be reusable. For example, that search bar that we just made can be reused in other parts of the program if we somehow need two search bars. You can have parent components, child components, and they can pass properties between each other. There's even stuff like Redux, which passes the states between components even easier. But right now, this app thing is rendering that, and render it just literally means render, and this is something called a JSX. Basically, it's JavaScript plus HTML. Sometimes you can. This right here is HTML syntax. This right here is still HTML syntax, but with JSX you can at any time put a bracket and you can just write JavaScript code. Like if I save this right here, it's not gonna work because it's JavaScript code. But if I like delete this, that's just gonna be HTML syntax. Right, it shows up right here. By the way, you might see my thing like randomly organizing itself. That is I press Ctrl Alt F to get this done, but to get it is a plugin, and to get it inside of the IDE that I'm using, which is Atom, I think we need to search up Prettyfy. So download Prettyfy, install it. Yeah, install this one, Prettier Atom, and then you just press Ctrl Alt F on Windows, and I don't know about on Mac, and then things will work. And yeah, that's it. That's all I want to say. Let's go to the that part. A few syntax that you might not have understood is what is state. Actually, I explained state, and I actually explained props too, so I don't know why I'm doing this. Oh, set state. Set state is, and also I want to explain error functions and set states. Set state basically lets you set the state, but error functions are kind of interesting. I want to talk about this a little bit. If we grab any component right here, and we write this into a plain old JavaScript, or I mean, inside of a normal, into a normal function, we can do this easily by doing this, right? Right now, that just becomes usual. That just becomes usual JavaScript. And if we type something, yeah, it says cannot read properties props of undefined. What is it saying is that it really doesn't understand this, because if you just have a function, when you define functions even below a class, it does not belong to a class by default. So referring to this is literally referring to handle change itself. A handle change itself does not have a property named props. That's why the console is confused. And we have to bind this function to the class. How we're going to do this? Two ways. Either make this following code. And doing this dot handle change equals to this dot handle, actually equals to this dot handle change dot bind this. Now you have binded handle change to the search class, and if we type in something, that's gonna work. Or we can just go back all the way. You see this right here, this syntax right here? We can go back all the way to this right here, to an arrow function, and an arrow function will automatically have this working. Well, let me see if there's any other things that I should explain. Not really. So yeah, really have a nice day, guys. Yeah.